All right, everyone, welcome to the weekend market analysis with myself, Michael Nauss from StatsEdgeTrading.com. If you're new here, welcome. We're getting lots of new people to the channel, and I absolutely love it. But what we do on the end of every week is we go through some weekly charts. So we take a step back. Usually we're focused on what's happening day to day in the market, looking for swing trades and longer term investments there. But every week we take a step back, we look at what happened overall this week. And then every month, again, we take a step back and we look at what happened this month. So we're going to go through stocks, we're going to go through crypto, we're going to go through Forex, we're going to go through commodities. It's going to be a whole lot of charts. So make sure you're ready. You got your coffee or tea or whatever it is and get into it. As always, make sure you go over to statsedgetrading.com. This is where I have basically everything I do. I have a blog there. I have a completely free trading course you can try out if you're new and you want to learn technical analysis, all that. If you're a little more advanced, you want to try to build your own trading plan for your own time frame, your own style, the way you look at the markets. I have a course for that as well. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. And always, we're going to start here with Bitcoin, and we're doing this on the weekly chart. So just drawing in this zone right here. Again, this is the kind of overhead resistance, the prior all-time highs that we're seeing in this area. It is what it is, right? What else? What else do you say? As long as we're dealing with this area, I expect some sort of a chop. Everyone's calling for a lot of chop. I actually have no idea how much. It might just be another day or two. We could rip right through. But for me, it's if you're above this zone, I want to trade from the long side. If you're below this zone, I want to trade from the short side. And if you're in this zone, I don't want to do a whole lot, right? We're probably just going to chop around. It's going to be a mess because what everyone remembers these massive moves that Bitcoin does, but no one seems to remember the many weeks that Bitcoin can just stay in a range-bound mess. Bitcoin has this pattern of do nothing for a long period of time and then boom, double, right? They do nothing for a period of time and boom, double. So you want to make sure that if it's in that mode, that you're trading with that mode, whether that mode is doing nothing or whether that mode is taking off or whether that mode is tanking. You want to make sure you're trading with this even more than most markets because it can go weeks and weeks and weeks. Like look at this little, almost 2-3 month session where nothing happened at all. We just chopped out in this area. That could have really, really killed you if you were looking for a short under this zone. Again, just be careful. Now, Ethereum, we're a little bit weaker on Ethereum. We never got, if I just draw on that zone quickly again, we never got up there. So we're under that overhead supply in Ethereum. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world, just means Ethereum is relatively weak to Bitcoin. A couple more that have been introduced to one of the prop firms I trade at, so I'm going to start watching more of, is this Cardano ADA. This one is still below its anchored VWAP from all-time highs. And I think this is a good indicator of whether your crypto is strong or whether your crypto is weak in the long run. If it can't retake the anchored VWAP from the all-time high the way Bitcoin and Ethereum has, you might be in for some problems. XMR, same kind of thing. Just can't get going. We have this massive spike in Bitcoin, and some of these guys haven't done anything yet. They may in the future, and when they do, they'll be interesting to me, but right now they're not. Dogecoin is the most interesting one, hilariously enough, where it got close to that anchored VWAP from all-time highs and actually pulled off of it. So I may look on the shorter term time frame here over the weekend, see if I can get a entry point onto Doge, because if we are going to break that high, I want to be involved because that could cause some insanity where we could get back to all-time highs, which would just be absolutely nuts. So let's get in. We're going to start with gold here. I put gold and silver in the currency space because I have nowhere else to put it. It's not a stock. It's not a commodity, really. So I treat it like a currency. We, called the breakout. I just pat myself on the back for a second. Called the breakout on this one perfectly. I still own a bunch of gold. It continues to go, but there's no technical analysis to be done here. I mean, it's breaking out. I own some. I'm going to try to hold it until there's some sort of trend reversal. Until then, I just got to be long. There's nothing else that I can do. Silver, on the other hand, relatively weak, not able to get through these highs yet. So, I expect silver to outperform on the upside and outperform the downside. It's not doing that. It's just kind of chopping sideways, so that gets me a little bit worried. Take a look here at the dollar index, the DXY, and draw out this range. We are still stuck within it. So I am in chop mode in my Forex trading account. So proven otherwise, I'm looking for currencies that are in extremes one way or another, and I'm taking the other side of them. I'm not looking to swing for the fences. Now, this to me looks like it could have faked people out above this high. If we zoom in a little closer, could have faked people above this high right here, and then maybe it's breaking back down. That could just be another way to play this chop. So until proven otherwise, because if we go into the daily chart, it really did look like the dollar index was gonna smash through this prior high on this candle and just completely got reversed. And then if we look at today's action, we had a big spike up on some sort of economic number. You guys know I don't follow those, and then just reversed right back down. So, again, I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, this thing looks like it's going to go or not. But if I had to take a bet, and the thing I will be looking for is potentially shorting some dollar names. Look, the euro, again, it's going to look kind of the opposite of that, looking very strong there. Australian dollar is interesting to me just because it's now above this anchored VWAP from the lows. If we draw this anchored VWAP from the highs, you can see we're struggling. There's a lot going on in this area, but if we can get above this area, I'm interested because it seems like everybody on planet Earth is short the Aussie. Last but not least, I want to look at two. I want to look at USD CHF. One of the main reasons for that, we can remove this. Full disclosure, I am short a little bit of this. Just like everything else, people are very, very short the franc, which means long this pair. And you can see every time we get to this anchored VWAP, we put in topping tails, and now it's kind of 1, 2, 3 topping tails in a row in this area. So under this week's low, with a stop above this week's high, I think you may be in for another leg, maybe not all the way down, but another leg down here on the franc. And again, when everyone's on the boat in one direction and the trend looks like it's kind of going to be ending, again, I want to take a trade on that other direction. So that's what I'm watching there on the franc, on the Swiss franc, if I want to be exact. And then same with the yen. Everybody out there is short the yen, so long this pair, and these people are winning. So I don't see a trade here yet. However, we are failing still to break these highs. So the pattern that I think may work the best on this is some sort of break of the highs and then reversal back down. So what I would expect here on the yen is some sort of break of these prior levels right here, some sort of push higher, and then if that fails and then we start to break down, that I think is the trade, where you get all these people suckered in, they go, yeah, I'm right, on the right side of the trade, turns out they're wrong, take the other side. Again, that's the kind of game plan I have for something like that. Now, let us get into looking at the markets. So here I am in Trade Ideas. Link in the description below or over at statsedgetrading.com. This is what I use for all of my stock analysis. All my big boy analysis is done right here. And one thing I wanted to just looking at this screen right here, everything looks to be up, right? We have FDN, which is just an internet that's up today, gold and oil and semiconductors and technology, right? So a good day across the markets. But let's just start here with the S&P 500. Still a kind of bearish engulfing week. Right? Nice bottoming tail in the week, but there was a pretty down day that I think got people a little bit nervous that we did retake. So we gapped up on Thursday, and then we sold to kind of close right at the lows here, and then we had a little inside day, this one. So the high of this bar and the low of this bar, that to me is what I'm watching. If we're inside this bar, if we're closing inside this range, I don't think there's anything really too interesting to talk about. But if we break this range one way or the other in a substantive manner and then we close, that again to me is when I'm going to be kind of stepping on one way or the other on the trade. What I have been noticing and talking about, if we go to DBC, and we've been taking a look at DBC here, we have a nice little push up. So DBC is kind of our commodities ETF, and our commodities ETF just shows a basket of everything. You can see right behind my head here, we have a wheat ETF. So it has wheat, has gold, has natural gas, everything commodity related. This is the best way to kind of get the gauge of that. And we're having a nice little breakout and a nice closing week. So we undercut this prior low right here. We spent a lot of time in there and then we rallied above it and started to push higher. Could just be that we're moving into a more of a commodity theme, which is fine for me because I don't care what's going up. I just want to trade it. If we go to MDY, mid caps still a little bit weaker in the SPY. If we go to IWM, which is the weakest of all of them, still holding above this breakout. And for me on IWM, that's what I want to see. As long as we're holding above this breakout area, I think that's bullish. If we break back down into that range, that's where I get a little bit nervous there. Right? Anything commodity related, oil and wheat and all of these things are doing really well. So I'm not going to spend too much time commenting on those. Now, if we get into just quickly some names that I was interested in, where's my price alerts? Here we go. One is this MindMed. So Steve actually pointed this out here on a trade of the week a while ago. I'm doing a podcast with him. If you want to check that out, it's over on the Trade Ideas channel. But what I like about this chart is it's been incredibly strong. It's got a 16 or so % short float, and it broke out this week pretty handily over this resistance point right here. And it's come back and it spent all day just kind of bouncing off that. Every time it came down to that point, there was a buyer that stepped in. It came down to that point, and a buyer stepped in over and over again. I really like the look of that. Now, some of these other ones you may remember that have been on here for a while from that anchored VWAP algo that I've run. Beam, this one broke down, so no trade yet. Nothing really to do there. Mobileye I'm interested in if it can get and close above this prior high right here. This is a pretty gnarly short float of 21%. This IBXR, same type of deal. Then I want to talk about some of the ones that the algos that I'm working with picked out. So one of these was this BOC, and this is a pullback kind of revision to the mean algo that I'm looking for, where there has to be somewhat of a trend in the stock, and it's pulling back, and it's hitting an anchored VWAP that's a major one, and I'm looking to buy off that level. And it worked out okay, right? So it came down to this area. I got in on the close of the next day, and then I got out a little bit on this high right here, and then I still hold a little bit as long as it holds above that anchored VWAP. SMR is one that was interesting to me too. It came all the way down, a nice short float on this one of 30%, just kind of chopping around this zone, but it was a nice anchored VWAP pullback to this zone right here. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Silver, just again, going insane. And then a lot of these things like Hippo was a nice breakout as well. So I'm doing this a little bit earlier, but I'm going to run the algo for the weekly breakout and the AVWAP pullback. I'll include a couple of those in the Substack, so make sure you're going to stats@trading.com. You sign up for that. I'm going to start including those as I build out these algorithms, and at some point, that's going to be a service that I offer in which all of the analysis will still be there completely for free, but then the output of these algos will be a service that I offer. So if you're interested in that, again, make sure you're going to stats@trading.com. Sign up for the free email list where, again, my thoughts on the overall markets will always be free, and then the rest is just going to be this product. So again, I appreciate it for those who have made it this long in the video. Just FYI, we've got a baby on the way. So if I vanish for a couple weeks, that's why. I'll probably update people on Twitter or something like that. I do have content that will come out on the channel. These are some interviews that I've done for the Trade Ideas channel that I'm going to then put on this channel as well. So there will be some content for people who are interested in me just talking to some trader friends and people I know. So again, thank you guys for coming by. Thank you for the likes and the retweets and the comments. I love all of those. And until I see you guys, get away from the screens.